Hey guys, it's your very own supermom Mitali here and welcome to a brand new segment which I am calling MasterSCHOOL 101. Am I going to start a school or become a teacher? No. But I am going to be telling you all the tips and tricks and hacks which will help you if you want to study or help your kids study and take an interest in studying really nicely. So let's get ahead in today's video where I am talking about how to get your kids interested in studies. Whenever I meet any moms in any kind of a social gathering or a function or a wedding or in the gym or in any place in the world, most of them are always saying that my kid doesn't study enough, my kid doesn't like studying, my kid runs away at the thought of studying. So, what are you doing? How does your daughter cope up with her studies? Are you helping her? Are you sending her to tuition? Are you doing her projects? And my answer is a clear no. I tell them that I am not involved in my kids' studies because I have completed my graduation and I do not want to graduate again with my daughter. So basically guys, all these problems generally crop up because we associate studies with punishment. So back in the olden days, they used to say that only when you beat the child does that child gain knowledge, chhadi lage cham cham vidya yehi gham gham, and all these kind of ridiculous sayings, if I can say that, were coined around studies, where study became like a thing which would be equated to a punishment of sorts. So first of all, stop equating studies with punishment. Completely change your mental dialogue around studies, because we don't want your kid to feel that he's been or she's been sent to school because that's a punishment, because that's a chore, because this punishment is then going to last for almost 20 years of your life. Do you want your kid to be punished for 20 years? No, right? So the first thing how you'll get your kid interested in studies is when you change your mental dialogue and do not equate studies with punishment. Now the second point is where I need to cite an example and I will then tell you what this point is all about. Okay? So when I was a kid, my parents gifted me a set of encyclopedia. They gifted me a set of childcraft as well. And they told me that this is your best gift because you've turned 5 and we want you to read all of these till you become 20. Now, this was in 1991 when I was 5 years old, and that time sadly no computers existed, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no smartphone, nothing. All we had was a color TV, and there was no cable existing that time as well. So there was this TV which used to have host programs. If you're a 90s kid, you know what I mean, only for 2-3 hours. But then what do I do in the remainder of my time? I started reading, and I think my dad, he's no more there, RIP dad, was the most thoughtful gift he has given to me. Because what happened is that it actually made me so curious as to what is there in the books. I was not able to read properly. I started understanding and reading properly so that I could read those books. I started first seeing all the pictures in the childcraft series, and then I eventually progressed to the encyclopedias. Nowadays there are no encyclopedias existing, but I have my personal collection of World Book in Childcraft, that which was gifted to me in 1991, intact till today, and my kids are reading it. Now, what happens when you gift something to your kid which is like a book or which is like an e-book or a Kindle book, is that the kid starts thinking in that direction of wanting to read the book. So if it is my younger daughter who still does not know how to read and I give her a book, she will make it a point to learn faster how to read. So what we are basically doing is that we are prepping them or prepping their mind to read, to study, to dive in the pool of knowledge, of information. And what are we doing? Human beings are creatures who are always evolving. We are always learning something constantly new. Now, what happened when you got married and shifted into your husband's family? You learned their ways of living. You learned how to cook. I learned all my cooking from YouTube videos, so I thank YouTube for that. But later on also I learned a lot of things online, via books. So my learning has never stopped. I am a graduate. I have done my post-graduation. I am a working professional. I have my own business. I have kids, but my learning has never stopped. But I do not equate studies with punishment, and that's helped me learn a lot in life. So the best ways to pique your kids' interest into studying is to involve them into a world full of books. Now that is what my parents did, and that piqued my interest in studies, learning, or reading. But what did I do, and what do I still do to pique my kids' interest in this age where we have Wi-Fi, where we have Google, where we have games and lots of distractions? Same, I did the same thing. I bought the same encyclopedia from my parents' house to my house, and I told my parents, I told my kids that this is a gift from your grandparents, but which is passed on from generation to generation, and I want you to start just seeing the photos in these books. That is the first thing that I did. Now my younger one, Shiny, she was not interested in reading or studying anything at all. It's okay. I just let her be. I let her enjoy the nature. I let her cycle. I let her run. And while doing all these things, I told her that, maybe if you climb this way, this is called as climbing. Maybe if you run this way, it's called as jogging. Maybe this is called as cycling. And that is how I piqued her interest in learning and not studies as such, right? So she also started understanding and learning these new words, and automatically the next thing that she did when she became 4 years old is she grabbed a book. Now, are books the only way to learn? Absolutely not. Kids can learn a lot from YouTube, and the first thing where kids starts learning is from the nursery rhyme. So there are a lot of these channels which I'm linking down below, which is Coco Melon, and I don't remember the names to most of these channels, but there are a lot of these channels from where small kids as young as 1 or 2 years old learn a lot of new English words. So that is also one of the forms of learning. Now as kids grow older, I'm going to be making one more video on how to teach your kids to think in terms of systems. But here what the point I'm trying to make is that as kids grow older, we need to teach them broad concepts rather than confining their learning to, what has your teacher taught you today? XYZ, 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 then just study XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. No need to ask more questions than that. Stop doing that if you are doing it. If your kid is asking questions, that means your kid is interested. So you start reading up on that topic. Now I see a lot of science fiction, and automatically my kids ask, what is going to happen in the future? Are we going to Mars? I never discourage them in saying that, chal yaar, Mars kaun jaane wala hai. I tell them, of course we are going to Mars. This is one of the universe in which we are staying. What if there are 100 universes like that? We are a minuscule part of the Milky Way galaxy. Start using terms like this, and this will pique their interest in studying. These concepts then can be applied anywhere, and no knowledge goes unnoticed, right? So your kid is constantly gaining knowledge by the way you speak, by the way you talk, by the way you read, by the way you make them learn. So start talking to them about concepts. Just look at the sky and tell them there are a lot of these stars, these twinkling bodies. What do you think they are? They will use their imagination and That is great. That is how you get your kids to understand and know some subjects initially. One more simple way of how to get your kids interested in the whole dynamic of studying and gaining knowledge is stories. So I make simple stories out of each and everything. For example, the other day my kids got a lot of toys and did not maintain them properly. So I made a story of how one girl used to play with stones, and when that girl was gifted a dollhouse, she tore it apart. They automatically realized that this is something where we are going wrong. So studies doesn't only mean bookish knowledge, it also means manners, it also means etiquettes, it also means how we talk to people from different cultures, how we greet them, what do we do when somebody comes home. All this is a part of learning, and this is really important because a person without manners or etiquettes can be compared to a monkey. Though I find monkeys really, really sweet and I love them. Last but not the least, and one of my favorite points of how to get your kids interested in studying or gaining knowledge is by live example. Now, when I adopted a zero waste lifestyle, I started researching a lot about plastics, packaging, bioenzymes, zero waste products, and composting. When I automatically started doing all these things, my kids gained a lot of knowledge because I started explaining them that why should we do this and not throw this, why should we recycle, what is bioenzyme, how to compost. And now one of the most important benefits of leading a zero waste lifestyle is that your kid will automatically become smart. And sustainability is such a important value. And 20 years from now, when these kids will enter into the workforce, sustainability is going to be the most and the key important factor which will be noticed by companies wherever they are going, wherever in the world, to select that candidate. For example, my daughter ranks 10 on 10 on sustainability. She will be the most favorable candidate to get that job. So guys, leading a zero waste lifestyle not only teaches your kid a lot, but it also makes him or her foolproof, prepared, and ranks number one for the future. Also, what I've noticed is that whenever my older one, Rennie, wants to do any kind of project and it is related to EVS, and most of them are, I don't need to prepare her at all. She knows everything at the back of her hand because that is what we are doing. We are leading a zero waste lifestyle, and it is not just for reels that I am making my kids make bioenzymes and compost. This is a way of leading a better life, and my kids are also leading it, so they know what to do. One more most important way of talking to your kids or getting them interested in studies is to gamify the experience. Now, how do I gamify that experience? Now, suppose I want to teach my younger one, Shiny, what is the difference between domestic animals and wild animals. I'll make a quiz out of it. So I've automatically gamified the experience and made the journey of studying more pleasurable, more enjoyable, and hence then kids will want to study even more. Last but not the least is traveling with your kids. There is one famous school, and the principal of this school told me that if a kid is being absent because a kid is traveling, then we ask the kid to travel and then write an essay about it or make a video out of it and talk about it, because that kid, instead of sitting in the classroom, and a principal of a school has said this, will be learning more when they travel. So travel with your kids. I am not a very big fan of traveling with younger kids, but I would love to travel with my kids who are 10 years plus, because that is when they start understanding the world. So traveling with your kids is also one of the most important things where they can learn so much, right from boarding a plane to going to a museum, to catching a bus or a monorail or a metro. They can study the culture, food, the way people dress in different parts of the world. How did you like this tag of MasterSCHOOL 101, in which this was the first video of how to get your kids interested in studies? But one more point that I would like to add is that I would like all the kids in the world to become street smart and not bookish worms who do not know anything of the practical world. Make sure that your kid doesn't become a bookish worm. So how did you like this video? Let us know in the comment section below. One video where I saw on YouTube said that ask people to not subscribe too many times in the video, so I'm just telling you in the end, because we need subscribers to get this channel glowing and growing. So do subscribe, do share this with your friends, because I think a lot of parents are confused as to how to get your kids interested in studies. Also do let us know what topics would you like me to cover in MasterSCHOOL 101, and there'll be a lot of topics like a bullet journal for kids, and also maintaining a routine for kids, and also how to make a timetable for kids, which are in the planning. So thank you so much guys, and for all those of you who have sat through and listened patiently, I'm sure your kid is going to learn and gain a lot of knowledge. Bye.